Right, today we're going to put the contact aligner into operation. And hopefully you'll be able to see how to actually do an alignment. So first you have to turn on the services. And every lever, you just put 90 degrees to the direction of flow. And then over here, just turn on the electrics. Then you turn on the power, and then you make sure to press this button to put the decimal point where it belongs. When it starts up, it'll automatically put that to seconds, so that would read 38. Now it reads 3.8. Then you come down here to turn on the lights source. Give it a moment. And press start. So it won't really work unless it's detecting UV light, which I calibrate, but it was calibrated yesterday, so it's fine. Then what I like to do is make sure that the chuck is centered where it should be. So right now it's a little closer that way. That's, roughly center. The better job you can do setting things up, right, the better. Before you put in a mask, there's a button here that allows the stage to move back and forth. Make sure that it's all the way back. Right? You don't have to slam it, but make sure it's all the way back. And we're going to open that. It's looking, that's okay. So you press cycle and wait. Now it should work. All right. In the past, I pressed a lot of buttons, but really you're pressing cycle and waiting. All right. Not exactly in the manual. All right. Now we can load the mask. This isn't the mask we're going to be using. All right. And it might be hard to see on camera, but you want to be able to read. I'll flip it over. You want to words should be legible, meaning I can read San Jose State. Like if it's backwards, right, it's not working. And the chrome, it'll be shiny, like chrome looking. That's the side that's on top. And then this is the wafer side, and it's kind of brown looking. All right. Now, there's these arrows here, and it should go in like that. But what's been going on is I had to reverse it for the wafer I did. Going forward, these arrows should go in. All right. But I'm putting it in backwards because the other one was put in backwards. This is a little bit hard. It's done by feel. But you lift up the mask, and there's 2 pins on the underside, and make sure that it's in there. Then that turns on the mask vacuum. All right. So pulling it off, that mask will fall. So whenever you press that button, make sure your fingers are underneath on the edges to make sure it doesn't fall. All right. Now this wafer has had a mask 1 and aluminum coated on it. And it's actually been developed. Something happened, so it doesn't look very good. The alignment is off. However, we should be able to see what it looks like under the... All right. So I like to put the wafer flat right there and kind of centered. The closer you get it to alignment, the faster it will be. The thing has already been leveled, so we're going to turn on the substrate vacuum and I don't do this, but you can see that now it's stuck there. Okay. Now we lower it. And usually I put this, never quite sure who's used it before, but I would rotate this a few times. Actually, you can rotate it all the way before you lower the mask. That way when the mask comes down, it doesn't get. All right, now I'm going to use this button here to bring it out. All right, you can see these red lights, and that's where to line up. Now the alignment marks are on opposite ends of the wafer, and I got to get these cameras on those alignment marks. All right. Now I happen to know the alignment marks are closer to the center of the wafer, and now this is the fine adjustment. All right, the top, there's a top button here that goes back and forth, and then this is. So, it's not focused yet, but there's these features on the edge that I'm kind of going for. All right. Now, the microscope cameras might not see the image, but I might have it back and forth properly. Now I'm going to move the cameras in and out, just undo these. Just move them by hand. All right, that's the edge of the wafer, and that's an alignment mark. We're going to be using that alignment mark down there, and now I'm going to move this one. And so yeah, because I've been doing this a lot, I almost have it set up perfectly, just the mask anyway, just for doing that. Now, I want to use these, so I want to get those centered in. I'm going to press that top button and move it, but you see how it's still kind of going all over the place, right? So what they told me is you pull it in the direction you want to go, and you kind of tap it so it only goes one. I was doing that, I don't know how useful that was. Sometimes I just use it and I use my body as a damper. So now that's as center as it's going to be, right? I want this to be over. And all the masks I do kind of have this pattern. But now notice these lines, they're off, right? Now you can still align that way, but it's much easier if the mask feature goes straight across. So now I go and I adjust the mask. So I put my fingers to make sure it doesn't fall, turn off the mask vacuum, and I try to wiggle it to where I can get it better. All right. Okay. So now that mask is ready to be used. And even if you're doing mask one, do that, because setting up the first mask makes everything easier. All right, so now that is the mask, that's the layer, that's the chrome on top, but now we want to align it to the feature on the bottom, but you can't see the features on the bottom. So now we're going to raise the Z, and the thing is this is, like, on purpose I went a little too far, and you hear it kind of, that meant you went too far. But now I'm going the other way, and I can see the mask. the wafer not really coming out. So sometimes it loses its track if you lower it too far. So now here's the trick. There's a belt here, and you just put your finger on the belt to make a little tension, and then start raising it. And then it should come up. All right. And now come to the screen. You don't see something? You see something. Nothing? Something. Okay? So now that is what's actually underneath. That's the wafer. And if I move the X, the Y, you can see it moving that way. You can see it moving back and forth. And then we also have to do Z will twist the wafer. So this shape here is most likely that shape there, right? So I'm gonna, or not. So I moved, thinking that this is that, right? I moved it up, but there's nothing there. So in fact, this is probably that guy's corner, so I'm going down much farther, right? And now, it's just very light. You can see corner. You can even see the features that will go for, right? And now, I'm going to bring that side over, all right? Now, I'm just going to look over here. Oh, okay. You can barely see it. There's a cross there. So I'm going to raise this a little more. Now you can see things in better focus. Right? And what I want to do is now get I'm trying to line up a linear feature just by using the Z. So the mass is going like this, but it looks like it's doing that. Right? So that's good. And now, so what happened was we went and developed it. So there's the photoresist on there and the etched feature that we're aligning to. So this cross, right, is actually photoresist, where this cross is on the mask. And you can see that cross was misaligned. But I'm just trying to show you like what's moving underneath the wafer. Right? So now, I'm not trying to line up the cross to the misaligned cross. I'm trying to line it up inside of those four squares, right? Which now everything is off, and it's making me suspect that I put the mask in backwards because it's not. Well, oh, no, everything was off. So that's right to that. But now look, that cross isn't in there, right? So then you say, oh, well, let me get that alignment. Now that one's off, right? So it could be I didn't really get the Z error out of it yet. So now looking at it, let me try to raise it up a little bit more. Actually, by raising it and touching the mask, it shifted it a bit. So again, some of these shapes don't really belong there. I'm just looking for these little 4 squares and little 4 squares. And this is where it gets a bit difficult because that doesn't look very aligned there. And now I'm going to try to just tweak the Z a little bit, then readjust that one. Now the X is off a little bit. And that might be as good as I get. All right. So it's just touching the mask, right? Contact vacuum, talking with the rep, there's supposed to be a rubber gasket around there that we don't have. Now it could be somewhere in this room, that's okay. So we got to use hard contact. So I'm going to turn on hard contact. All right. Then you turn off the substrates. So that you don't have to go through this every time, you just lightly cinch those down. Because if you cinch it too hard, it bends the optics. So that, I would say that's aligned. Is it? You know, time will tell. So then we just press cycle. Once to get started and once to do it. Looking at it, it didn't really seem to shift from where I put it, which is a good thing. All right. So we exposed, so we turn off hard contact. Do it the other way. Turn on the substrate and then turn off hard contact. It didn't ruin anything, but the wafer slid out of the way. Then I back off on the Z. So again, I'm not going to redo this video. Turn on the substrate vacuum first, then turn off hard contact. Now I have to push this. You don't have to adjust this, right? You just push this away gently until the stop, right? Because then when you do the next wafer, everything should be all set up, right? So we put that there. And we unload the wafer, so we raise the mask. Now we turn off substrate back. Voila. Now I'm just going to put that back because I want to talk to you about the light settings. So if I was doing another wafer, right, I kind of get it in there. Substrate vacuum, bring that down. I had already moved that down enough. So now I'm going to bring it up. So this mask is coated in aluminum, so it really bounces the light back. So over here, you have to adjust the light. So if you were doing a different mask where it's not coated in aluminum, you have to increase the brightness. But on the aluminum mask, it won't work, right? So you have these rough things that adjust the brightness, and then you have fine, right? So I need to come back to, and then I can adjust fine. fine. It goes in a circle, right? So you just get it. Okay. So if we were going to go do mask 1 that isn't bouncing all that light back at us, we would have to increase it. Anyway, let's just get that out of there. So again, I just move it back so it touches. Once that's set, I shouldn't have to move it. All right. We raise that. Substrate back off. So then it would go on to develop, inspect, and hard bake, and etch, and keep continuing. That's it.